me to start, please? First, allow me to express my condolences to all you from the media out there. You lost a friend and colleague and had another seriously injured, and have had to report on the killing of a beautiful 9-year-old child as well. You grieve along with our community and country over the loss of these beautiful souls. The media has been routinely and roundly maligned and criticized over the last several years. Allow me to take a moment to share how thankful I am to you all. I've had family and many friends and acquaintances amongst you for many decades. Almost to a person, I've known you to be amongst the most ethical, hardworking, honest, committed, and truth seekers out there. When a brother of yours was murdered, another was shot, and when an innocent, sweet child was killed, it is a painful and poignant reminder of how important and at times dangerous the work you do is. It's one reason I'm thankful that you all are here today, that we're all thankful that you're here today, to make certain the truth gets told. Gun violence in America is a sickness, a disease that has infected our country like no other. Today is March 2nd. As of a week ago this year, 6,278 people have already died from gun violence in the United States. Of these numbers, 227 were teens and 36 were children. As of last week, there had already been 84 mass shootings in the U.S. Once again, Orlando is added to that ignoble list. I've been blessed and humbled to be the attorney for the Major and Lyons families. Each independently reached out to me to represent them as they were dealing with the unimaginable and unthinkable. Randy and Tokyo Major lost their beloved daughter, Tiana, who they lovingly called Yana. She was the heartbeat of their family, an aspiring gymnast with an infectious smile that would light up a room. Tokyo was a girl dad who showered her with love and affection. The last time he saw his child alive was when he was with her in the back of a medical transport as she was being rushed to the hospital after her little body had been shot twice, her life force leaving her. Yana and her mother, Brandy, were best girlfriends. Yana liked to get pretty like her mother, and the time they shared with each other was the greatest joy to both of them. The last time Brandy saw her beautiful child was when Yana was being taken to the ambulance, her small body bloodied after being shot. Brandy had cradled and tried to protect Yana from the gunman, even being shot herself. Still frantically trying to save her daughter's life until the very end. Dylan was your colleague, friend, competitor, and professional brother. He loved being a journalist, his dream job, and was living his best life. He and his father, Gary, were the only men in the home they shared, surrounded by a family of women and children. They were quite close. His mother, Beth, is devastated. They were especially close, such a strong bond between mother and son that was as strong as it was beautiful. He was the father figure to his niece and nephew and the unifying strength of his family at only 24 years old. He was engaged to the love of his life, Casey. Their love is the kind of story that romance novels get written about, except their love story was boundless and true. Both the Major and Lyons families, each having learned of the other's tragedy, wanted to meet one another. This was arranged by me as I had gotten to know both families, having spent endless hours with each, and coming to know all of them as being truly kind, loving, and wonderful people. Each came from different backgrounds. The Majors are a hard-working, blue-collar, younger black family living in Pine Hills, one of Orlando's more modest neighborhoods. The Lyons are a white, Jewish, white-collar, somewhat older family living in Windermere, one of Central Florida's wealthier towns. Race, creed, color, socioeconomic status, or age made no difference and makes no difference. The common grief and loss with children taken from both families by the same killer connected and bonded them with an instantaneous love for one another. Gun violence is indiscriminate, and when it strikes, it kills and devastates everyone equally. I've seen a lot in this long career, but being witness to these two beautiful families meeting is a memory that I will hold forever. When they met, they instantly embraced, hugged, and sobbed with each other. They wouldn't let go of one another. The bonding carried over into the private room where we all went. The mothers sat next to one another. The fathers sat next to each other. Casey, Dylan's beloved fiancée, was in the middle. Rachel, Dylan's sister, sat at the end. The mothers clutched hands and never let go of the other's hand for almost 3 hours. They've hardly let go of each other since. The fathers hardly stopped talking to one another for the entire time. They all lifted each other up with loving embraces as one or the other would alternately need it the most. Tears were endless, but there was some laughter too as memories were shared. Sobbing, wailing, empty stares. The full gamut of pain and grief filled the room. The love that filled their hearts for one another was real and palpable as a result of both families having lost their beloved children, fiancé, and brother to the same murderous person who had needlessly shot their loved ones to death. They were now members of a club that no person would ever wish to be a member of, and that is one who has lost a child or fiancé to gun violence. Both families are unified in their quest to bring attention to gun violence in America and the insanity that has gripped some politicians and others over this issue. They are sickened over what they believe has been the exploitation of their children's deaths by Governor Ron DeSantis and Senator Rick Scott. Both politicians have taken to the podium, deflecting the issue of gun violence in America and their support of essentially insane, barely restricted gun laws and open carry legislation, which will only cause more needless and innocent deaths. They have intentionally or ignorantly suggested others may be blamed for gun violence and the causes that led to this murderous rampage, when it is actually the belief that it is their own policies and rhetoric that enables such behavior and actions. I will not dignify the killer by mentioning his name, but Governor DeSantis and Senator Scott have intentionally and with what appears to be malice conspired with one another in a coordinated effort to paint a false narrative, defaming and somehow accusing the state attorney, Monique Worrell, for some responsibility here. Shame on them. They claim that this murderer had no convictions, despite multiple arrests. Well, the reason there were no convictions is that they were all juvenile offenses, happening before he was 18 years old, and no juvenile offenses in Florida carry a conviction pursuant to Florida law. Florida statute 983.35 sub 6 specifically states that an adjudication of delinquency by a court with respect to any child who has committed a delinquent act or violation of law shall not be deemed a conviction. Simply put, a juvenile adjudication is not a criminal conviction. One would think that a governor and a U.S. senator who used to be governor should at least know the basics of Florida law. Are they lying, or are they intentionally trying to deceive the public, or merely just ignorant? No juvenile in Florida, let me repeat that, no juvenile in Florida who has gone through juvenile courts has a conviction on their record. And DeSantis' and Scott's twisting of the truth seems to be nothing more than an attempt to pervert the truth and deceive and mislead the public. Moreover, the understanding is that all the previous arrests, plea agreements, and sentencings of this murderer occurred before State Attorney Monique Worrell had ever been elected to or taken office. The only crime that the murderer was arrested for while she has been state attorney was a single misdemeanor charge of 4.6 grams of marijuana, a misdemeanor, an amount so small that it was ineligible to even be tested. Even if the killer had gotten a year in jail from when he was first arrested, which is the maximum penalty in Florida for a misdemeanor, and which nobody in the entire state of Florida would or should receive for 4.6 grams of marijuana, he would have been out of jail months before his killing spree began. Nobody on this planet wants this murderer convicted and sentenced to the maximum more than these families, I assure you. However, easy access to deadly firearms, including people such as this killer, who was apparently legally allowed to have one, is the issue that DeSantis and Scott are avoiding and deflecting. and not their chatter about not prosecuting 4.6 grams of pot. The families have wanted the memories of their loved ones to be the focus and not be thrust into the politics of two opportunistic politicians, DeSantis and Scott. His primary concerns seem to be about furthering their selfish political ambitions. The families believe this all smells and smacks of political opportunism by both DeSantis and Scott, and it is appalling to them. If DeSantis and Scott truly cared about these victims, then they could have not only reached out to them, but they could have been addressing the issues of gun violence and reasonable and sane gun legislation instead of avoiding the issue. Instead, they seemingly are attempting to capitalize on the death of these families' children by going after a political adversary. As such, the families have decided they cannot stand silent or idly by while they are grieving their lost ones, believing that they and their loved ones are being used as tools and political pawns by DeSantis and Scott. The families are united in their disgust over Governor DeSantis and Senator Scott as they seem to be exploiting their dead children for their own political agendas, twisting the facts as to mislead the public as to the reality of the situation. They are sickened that DeSantis and Scott have made time to take to a podium and issue a joint statement condemning the office of the state attorney filled with half-truths and false propaganda, where they never have even reached out to the grieving families to offer condolences or any expression of sympathy, as Monique Worrell, the state attorney, or Sheriff John Mina, or Mayor Demings have. And I will also mention Mayor Dyer has as well. DeSantis and Scott have plenty of time, though, to be political showboats for the media, but not enough compassion to extend sympathy to the very families whose dead children they appear to be using for their own political gain. Both families are strong and are resolute in their convictions not to allow their children to have died in vain, or for them to be used as political pawns by DeSantis and Scott, when the true issue of sane and responsible gun laws is being deflected and avoided by these gun-loving politicians. The families are thankful to Sheriff John Mina and the homicide detectives at the Orange County Sheriff's Office for their compassion and professionalism and for reaching out to them. They are thankful to Monique Worrell and the Office of the State Attorney for reaching out to them, who had a prosecutor on the scene the very night of the shootings and are proceeding strongly with the prosecution of their children's killer. The families are very grateful to the public for their prayers and tremendous loving support. They have felt it, and it is helping carry them through these times. Your GoFundMe accounts that have been set up will help the families tremendously. And I urge anybody watching to please consider making a contribution to these families. They have a long, long road in front of them. And I've attached to their GoFundMe accounts to both of them, and you can look up the names of them, and you'll see that. The families are both planning memorials and scholarship funds to benefit other young people and students, so the memories of Tiana and Dylan are not forgotten and their legacies are carried on. A public vigil will be announced in the next couple of days, hopefully to be scheduled for next weekend. Thank you for allowing me to share the thoughts and feelings of the family which they have approved and I have conveyed. Each will have some words and will be open to questions about their children, fiance, and brother. I'm sorry, Rachel, his sister, was just unable to make it with the pain. And the love they have and the loss they are suffering. Any matter concerning the investigation or charges will be addressed to me. Thank you for your attention. I know that was long, but it needed to be said on behalf of the family, so thank you. And I believe that Gary has something to say to start.
Brother, this two fathers and lost children.
Crazy, man. My world, man. My soul. My soul, man. My soul, man. Give me a moment, please.
My name is Gary Lyons, and that's my wife, Beth Lyons. Dylan Lyons is my only son. He's a devoted son, and it's impossible to describe the relationship he had with my wife. I was often the third wheel in their relationship. Dylan has two older sisters and a nephew and a niece. He was a stand-in father to them because their father wasn't in their lives. He took them to the parks, he planned trips for them and bought them anything they ever needed. And then Dylan found the love of his life in Casey, who's been like a daughter to us, and she'll forever be with us. Dylan so much wanted to be a husband and a father, and we often talked about that too. Dylan loved to dress impeccably, and he had more shoes now than I ever had in my whole life. He was always shopping, and he wanted to look and be a professional. My son always promised to take care of my wife, my family, my children, and I was gone, because I always told him that was his responsibility. It was his dad, I'm going to do it for you. Who knew I could bury him here today? It's not supposed to work like this in life. Being Philadelphia natives, Dylan loved the Philadelphia 76ers, the basketball team, and he thought we were robbed in the Super Bowl. And I told him that spoken like a true Philadelphia fan. Dylan went to UCF for journalism, and he loved being a reporter. Just loved it. He always told me he wanted to tell the story for the people. He had an unmeasured compassion for people. In the 3 years that he was in Gainesville, he was very active with the Ronald McDonald House and their media efforts. Dylan often talked about wanting to be the next David Muir, and that's when he was going to retire so he could move in. At some point, we're going to have a memorial for Dylan at UCF. He had some wonderful professors out there who molded him not just in journalism, but as a person. I lost my train of thought, sorry. In the Orlando Sentinel, I saw that Governor DeSantis and Senator Scott had made some comments about this case. As parents themselves, I was shocked that they couldn't take 30 seconds out of their time to just call and say, I'm sorry for the loss of your child. How horrific of an emotion. We heard from Mayor Demings, we heard from Monique Worrell, we heard from John Mita, who all were very sympathetic to us in our time of grief. We're very appreciative of that, but to have our state, our governor and our senator not even reach out. He was there at Disney, taking back the Disney district, but he couldn't call for 30 seconds. Earlier this week, we had an opportunity to meet Tokyo and Brandy and listen about Tiana. We listened as they told us how Tiana excelled in gymnastics, school, and her close bond with Tokyo. Our families are bonded through life, through this tragedy. You know, it doesn't make a difference if you're black or white, if you live in Pine Hills or Windermere, if you're Democrat or Republican. Gun violence hits all of us the same. Look around this room. Last week it was our family. It could be yours next week, or one of your friends or relatives or yourselves. I don't know the solution for gun violence in America. For politicians and legislators, they need to create tougher gun laws and not worry so much about political ambitions or affiliations, or highlight the Second Amendment rights without regard to lives that matter. I know in my life, this epidemic of gun violence is killing the fabric of America. I just finally, I'm so sorry to my son, because I wish I could have taken the bullet.
Me too.
Or me.
Me too.
It shouldn't have been her. It should have been Tiana. It should have been.
I can't believe it.
It should have been.
My poor baby. I'm so sorry for you. Yes, my baby, Tiana Judy Marie Major, my Yaya. She had a dream. She had a dream just for her. She loved everybody. She had a dream. She had a desire to help people and do for people. She wanted to be remembered for the love that she gave. she also wanted equality for homeless people. And she wanted to give to all the little children that needed stuff. Like, she was just my heart, my angel. Like, and I'm gonna miss her so much. I can't do this. I gotta get. I can't do this. Oh, and she was the best little girl. She was the best little girl. She did gymnastics and she excelled in that. She was just she held her whole team down, like, and everybody's heard from this. It ain't just us. It's not just these families. Everybody's hurting. Something gotta be done. Oh. I gotta get out of here. Yes. Yes.
Okay. We'll get up.
Tokyo wants to be out there with his wife, but he had words to say, so.
She was my everything. 9/11, 2013. She was born at 6:11 in the morning. She was all. They call me Mr. Mom, you know. She was just everything. Again, my soul is gone. It was my gymnast. That was the number one friend. I didn't miss damn practice. We didn't miss damn practice. He just took my world, my fishing buddy. It's so hard. It's just hard. It's hard, man. That's my everything. Just want the world to know that. Until we meet again, yeah. Daddy love you. Daddy love you, man. Tell my world, man. Oh, God. She was everything. She loved everybody. Yes, oh, God. My soul. My heart's so cold. It's my enemy, man.
Gary, can you talk to us about Dylan, about when you first learned he was coming back to Orlando? And when I spoke with him on the field, he told me that he was back living with you guys. What did it mean for you guys to have him back with you here?
Well, it was always our dream. We've lived in Orlando for 6 years, and the first 3 years out of UCF, he was up in Gainesville. He wanted to go right to New York, but I said, you gotta pay your dues and you gotta work your way up. But when he came back, he was always gonna live with us. Everybody in our family lives with us. So we were just so excited that he had the opportunity to come back and to be part of our family and to bring Casey along the way.
We're gonna hold questions
Oh,
until,
okay.
till the end, not your fault at all. Jeff,
Okay.
if you don't mind, please.
Sure.
We'll just wait. Go ahead. And I just want to say that they're grieving with each other, and they're in my office, so.
don't know where to begin. Dylan was such a special soul in my life. The joke was that Gary came third.
Or fourth after even Casey came along.
Okay, so that was the joke. Casey and Dylan were the same to me. He was just a special, special soul. Not only my son, he would help the world. In high school, from 9th grade to 12th, he did the most blood donor and saved so many lives, so he won the scholarship. He was just a special young man. Whatever he could do to help others, he was there. The bond that we had was inseparable. He was just, I don't know where to even begin. Then he met, I was always afraid, and then he met the love of his life, which was Casey. And we took her in like our third daughter. We loved her. We used to call us the Three Musketeers, because we loved. But I always wanted to give them their space. I never would, but they always included me. They were just, I just don't know where to begin with Dylan. Everything he did, he devoted his life to myself and Casey and his family, his niece and nephew, which were my grandchildren. I can't, this is what Dylan made me the last Mother's Day. This.
And I was on the other side of it. They put me out.
And this was from his last birthday, which was March 11th. He used to just be so special. My heart's broken. When Dylan was killed, I died too. I feel like I just feel like I died too. There's no words can express that. As a mother, he was supposed to bury me. I was not supposed to bury him. I just wasn't supposed to bury him.
Thank you. And I know that Casey, your daughter.
Right, she's considered my daughter. I love her so much.
And I know Casey has some words and something special to share.
My name is Casey Fight. I am the fiance of Dylan Lyons. Dylan and I shared a love people search their whole life for. True love. I'll never forget the first time I saw Dylan. It was about 3:30 in the morning in the TV20 newsroom. He was wearing a yellow TV20 polo, and he was walking to his desk. He walked past the edit bay I was in, and then took a few steps backwards and popped his head inside and said, "Who are you?" And I told him, "Oh, hi, my name is Casey, I'm new here." He replied, "Oh, I'm Dylan. I'm the office hottie." I knew from that moment I met my Dylan that he was special. I am forever broken without him here with me. There's nothing Dylan and I wanted more than to be married and have a baby together. This is the part where I share that with the help of an amazing team of doctors, I was able to freeze Dylan's sperm, and I'm going to do IVF. I know he would want me to have our baby. I'm just completely devastated he can't be here for what we were so excited for. I am going to set up a GoFundMe to help pay for the IVF treatment and any other expenses our baby would need that their daddy would have helped with. You see gun violence all over the country, but you never think it will happen to your family. Cherish every moment you have with your significant other. Life is too short, and I would do anything to have my Dylan back in my arms. I love you forever and always, my love.
I want to thank you all very much for your professionalism and compassion is written all over everybody's face. If there are questions, I don't really think that.
More, can I say one thing?
Of course you can.
There's a special person that I'd like to recognize that Dylan really loved in a mile. It's Taylor. Taylor, I would like you to recognize you. As Dylan always admired you, with your relationship with your family. You felt a lot of, even though you didn't talk a lot, but But he loved you a lot, Taylor.
They talked a lot
about you.
They talked a lot on the night side
Oh, you
shift.
did?
They did. They always played around together.
But
they
I
were
like
good friends.
to thank you that he really loved you, Taylor. I just wanted to recognize Taylor.
Yeah, me too.
Casey did too.
I think that the Major family is not in a position to talk clearly. Randy is not. I think most of this has been answered, and I don't know if there's a whole lot actually that could be answered, that question. But we're available for questions if you have them.
Gary, Beth, Katie, condolences to the family beyond belief here. A lot of people want to know about services or funeral or any kind of thing you're going to be doing, whether you're local, out of state.
Services are going to be private for the immediate family, and at some point we're going to have something at UCF because he had it's a great experience there. He had a beloved professor, and we want to honor his memory with something at UCF. Beth and my other daughters attended a candlelit vigil that they had up there, and Casey's daughter too. Well, she's my daughter too, so so we want to do something out there.
And I can speak, I think, for the Major family, that they will be doing a service, but then there's going to be a public vigil, which will be both of the families joining together in the public. And we're in the process of doing that now. We believe that it will probably take place next weekend for the community and for all that would like to come. But we'll have the detail worked out by end of day today or tomorrow. We'll, of course, notify you all.
Mark, by next weekend to be the 10th, 11th, that
Yes,
weekend.
following this weekend, yes. Yes. But, and it will likely be on Sunday. There will be some private family matters going on that Saturday, so we think that Sunday will be either Friday evening or Sunday day, we think.
I'm so sorry for your loss. I'm Valerie. Do you think there needs to be changes in the field of journalism?
With what regard?
Regards to safety.
Yeah, I do. I'm going to be working with UCF to make it safer for reporters. So my son is not killed, so I'm going to be an advocate for that, yes. We're working on it, but we'll soon be, we don't know how it's going to come out, but we are, yes. I believe that was a stand that I do want to take for other reporters. So no other mother has to go through what I'm going through.
Are there any other questions?
I just want to say, I'm Emilia from Telemundo, that I'm really sorry.
Thank you.
I didn't get to meet him well, but I saw him in the field, and he reflected professionalism to the highest, and so I'm sorry. And we've been praying for you guys. We don't know each other, but we've been praying for you guys.
If that's it, I'm going to escort them to my office, and you all are welcome to stay or not stay, and we'll be available. I think you all have pictures that you can run as you choose to, and we'll be available for if you have any calls or anything, you know how to reach me. Thank you all. I beyond words, appreciate your professionalism and your compassion, and it says a lot about you all, so thank you.